Welcome to our webinar on events. Thank you all for joining us, all of our speakers and those of you who are attending the webinar. We're excited to start shortly, but real quick, as you join the room, you could drop a note with your name and where you are tuning in from. And what type of event you organize, if you do. And let's get to know each other a little bit while we wait for more people to fill in. And I will start. Hi, Nefe in the chat. Hi, everyone. Mohini here. Kenya, Lagos, Nigeria. Great. And I know we have Jaime here who is in New York, so 5 hours behind. 5? Still 5, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's 10 a.m. for me.
Started with us bright and early. Thank you. Folayemi, where are you?
Somewhere in the world.
Ooh, okay. And yeah, your wall is not helping. There's no hints whatsoever. Cool.
You can guess and you win a prize from me, Mohini.
You need to give some options.
I'm kidding. I'm not giving any prizes.
Wow.
So I have to put the disclaimer before people in the audience think that there's prizes to be won.
Who can guess?
Unless Mohini.
The incentive.
Give away.
Exactly. Welcome, Trudy from Accra. Hey, Chibi, where are you? Oh, Chibi, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, no worries.
I'm here in Lagos.
You're here in Lagos? Sweet. And Lola?
I'm just down the road from you.
You're down the road?
Keja as well. Just about, 400 meters away from you guys.
I do need to come visit at some point. I'm honestly shocked that I haven't been around ever yet. I'll fix it. New year, new me. Sweet. Abimbola from Lagos. I plan my life's enjoyment. Okay. It's very proactive sounding. I love it. Cool. Hi, Trudy from Accra. Nefe from Accra. Nefe, is that your real location? Hi, Miriam from Lagos. Welcome. Thank you for making the time. We'll give it about 1 more minute and we'll get started. The session is being recorded, so for even people who join late, they get to watch the replay later. So okay. Probably fine. Yeah. Oh, hi, Tenny from Canterbury. Okay. You'd like to get into organizing tech events. Ooh, I'd love to hear it. Well, excited to have you here. I'm looking forward to any questions that you have. We have a very well qualified lineup of guests to answer. So stay tuned. Okay, so we are going to get started and I'm going to kick it off with intros. First of all, who am I? Hi, I'm Mohini Ufeli Ezekwesili. I'm the managing editor at Paystack. I'm excited to be hosting this webinar today. Today, we are going to be discussing events and how to leverage technology to create engaging, exciting, profitable events. I have a lineup of 4 very experienced speakers who are in various levels of event organization. So we're going to do a quick Q&A with them first, and afterwards we will open up the floor to questions from you in the audience. A real quick note on questions while we're talking about that. There is a question tab where you click the icon and you can type in your question, and that shows up in a particular column. People can upvote your questions. We will attend to the ones that most people seem to want to hear from first. So feel free to use the question feature to send in your questions. We will do a Q&A like 30 minutes in. All right, so without much ado, we are going to head over to our speakers and I want to hear a bit about them and the work that they do. So we are going to start with Folayemi. So Folayemi is the co-founder of Tix.Africa. I'm going to let her tell you all about what Tix does, where Tix operates. Yeah, so hi Folayemi. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and
Hi, Mohini. My name is Folayemi Agusto. Like she said, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tix.Africa. We're an event technology company. We help event creators across Africa sell tickets online, collect payments, and manage access at their events. You can use Tix in any country you are in Africa, really. But we are live and have physical presence in Lagos and Accra. When I say you can use it anywhere, like for free events, for paid events, you can only use it in those two cities for now. But we are going to be expanding to more cities soon. And yeah, that's me.
thank you, Folayemi. Welcome to our webinar. All right. Next up, we have Chibuzor Iwobi, aka Chibi. Chibi hosts some of the most lit events in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm constantly seeing my friends at your parties in my Instagram stories. So, kindly tell us a bit about yourself and what it is that you do and how you go about organizing events.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So many people don't know I'm the head of a nonprofit, Meadowhall Foundation, and our goal there is to improve the quality of education in Nigeria. But so I'm the founder of Chibiverse. It's a platform through which I throw parties, organize events. I've been doing this since 2019, but we had to take a break in 2020 because of COVID. Then we started in 2021. I've used different venues such as South Socials, Moist Beach, Hard Rock, Shiro, and 355, and it's been an experience. I have always loved to party, go out, and to do this for a living, it's fulfilling. Honestly, it's come a bit easy to me because it's something I've always done, making people a bit comfortable at my parties, and doing this full time. It's really fun to do.
Thank you, Chibi. I feel like I have so many questions for you personally, but we'll get to that later. All right. Next up, we have Jaime. So Jaime is product marketing manager at the events calendar, which is I'll let her talk about it. Maybe I'll hype up the events calendar later. But hi, Jaime. Welcome. Tell us about yourself and the work you do at events calendar.
Yeah, so I work basically to get all the marketing communications out for the events calendar, which in addition to having calendars, we also have tickets and a whole bunch of other set of WordPress plugins. So you can add a calendar to your site, you can add tickets. When COVID hit and events kind of physical event, like in-person events shut down, we released a plugin called Virtual Events so that people could add virtual events to their websites. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. So yeah, the events calendar is the #1 plugin for events on WordPress, and Jamie's giving you a bit of a snippet into what are all the things that you can do with just this one tool, and we'll go into a bit more of those later on. Now, last but absolutely not at all the least, we have poet, author, director of Ake Arts and Book Festival with us. Hi, Madam Lola Shoni.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hello, everyone. So my name's Lola. I am a publisher, a writer, and a bookseller. And I also do a bit of writing, but I guess I'm here because I organize the Ake Arts and Book Festival, which last year we celebrated our 10th year anniversary, but also the Kaduna Book and Arts Festival, which takes place in northern Nigeria, and we're now in our 5th year. I'm very passionate about spreading the gospel of books and of reading and of the arts and culture in general. And I'm really excited to be here.
Amazing. We're excited to have you here. Yeah, thank you all for sharing a bit about yourselves and the work that you do. A reminder for the audience, if you want to send in a question, as you know, you hear our guests talk about their experiences and what they're learning, if there's anything that's on your mind, feel free to drop it through the chat question feature. Should be somewhere at the bottom right of your screen. And when we get to the Q&A section, we will pull it up. Okay, so we're going to start, just a little bit generally. And anyone on the panel is free to go first. But I'm curious. You've all had experience with events in some way, shape, or form. What is one thing that you know now that you wish you knew if you've not been in the business 5 years ago, but like let's say 3 to 5 years ago? Something that like, dang, if I had known that, it would have changed things. I feel like Chibi might have the most interesting things to say, but Lola, let's go.
Well, I was just going to say, and I know this is going to be true for many of us, especially Chidi, if there was any way that we could have had a crystal ball that could have given us an insight into the possibility of a pandemic, I think many of us would have really done things differently. And for me, what I sort of learned from that experience, where I had to really get my techie chops, up to date and upgraded, largely because having run an in-person physical event for 7 years, we were suddenly in this situation where we weren't sure what direction to go in. And it was important for us to ensure that the festival didn't just kind of experience any kind of hiatus. So what we did is we had to really go back to the drawing board and think, how can we still create an experience for people and for our guests and our visitors and the people who have kind of loved us all that time? How can we create an online experience, a virtual experience that is as close to the physical experience as possible? So as an individual, and of course, and I think I speak for my team, we had to, go and learn a few more skills, many of them to do with technology. Being 50 years old, I can tell you that I didn't find it easy. And there were times that I was wondering what the hell I was doing kind of in that space. But we learned a lot, and we're taking that knowledge forward.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, and I imagine, Farake, you guys were so invested in physical that it must have been quite the pivot. Just to follow up real quick, what are some of the, and we've talked about this a little bit, but what are some of the tools that helped make that transition easier for you?
So we've always had an online presence. We've almost always, since inception, streamed our events live. But when we realized we were going to kind of transition to an online event, being a bit of a perfectionist, I just thought it was way too risky to kind of get people onto StreamYard, which is the tool that we used at the time, and have them speak live. So what we did instead was to plan and actually record all the speakers 6 weeks before the event. And we wanted to make it as pretty as possible. So we did an intro and an outro. We were able to really showcase all the speakers and make it just a top-notch production. And the idea for me was that people might kind of want to watch it on TV or on their screens. And I really wanted it to look good. But a key challenge that we had with that, having created all these kind of wonderful individual productions and individual events and put them on YouTube, we then had to think, so we don't want to release them all at the same time. We still want to maintain the feel of the festival, which involved people being able to register and attend individual events as they wanted to. So we started thinking again, what do we do? And we did loads of research, and we actually came across this events calendar WordPress tool. And I mean, that was a lifesaver, because we basically, it had this capacity for the organizers to say exactly when kind of each event would be available, and it would send all the attendees a reminder. It was just kind of perfect, and I'm just really grateful that it was there when we needed it, especially the virtual edition. It was just perfect for us. I'm really grateful for that, Jamie. It was good. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. Solid feedback for Jamie and team. Thank you, Lola. All right. Who would like to go next? So, of course, the question being, what have you learned now that you feel like is super valuable information from over the past 5 years that could have been a game changer if maybe you'd known it earlier?
I could go next.
Mm-hmm.
I think for us, it was like, for my team, it was being able to pivot. That, like, we were so originally so married to the idea of events that physical events, that we couldn't even like fathom that there wouldn't be events. And then we were like, what should we do? And I think just being able to be flexible and stay on your toes. And we released virtual events with COVID, and continue to release more integrations for it. Like, we have Zoom and WebEx and Teams, and we just keep releasing more, basically based on what customers want and want to use. And I think listening to customers and getting ideas from people within the event space is super helpful in driving what's coming out next. Because I know I personally I don't live in the event space. I more, just work on our products. And I think having an ear to what the customers want is the best way for us to be able to like release new features and products.
Solid. Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, like having the users really drive the direction makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad that your team was able to pivot so successfully after the pandemic. Of course, that's not always the story, so that's dope. Okay, Folayemi, you're next on my screen, so I'm curious what learnings you have.
Okay, sure. I think the first thing is, I'll just piggyback off what Lola said. I mean, if I had known COVID was going to come like 9 months after launching Tix, we probably would have done something. Also, look for another business to start, because that was traumatizing. But we were able to stay like super lean and get through like 2020 and early 2021. We did integrate with Zoom for virtual events, but now like less than 3% of events on Tix are virtual. People do love being in person and socializing. Like, there's that energy, like Chibi kind of tested that from like events of like being in a live space. Virtual is something I think people think about as work or corporate events. I don't think people are going to do fun stuff for virtual. I mean, for me personally, that's what I believe, and that's what the data has shown me. But in terms of like my experience before founding Tix, I had a lot of experience as an event organizer, doing my food festival, doing events in uni, and interning at event companies. And I had a very good idea of what I needed from an event platform. And I believe I also had a good idea of what some other events needed, from like talking to them or seeing the challenges from going to these events and thinking through like what would solve. If I went to an event and I didn't enjoy it, I could think, oh, what could have been better for this event as me as an attendee. But I don't think I had a very, very good understanding about the business side of a platform, or understanding specific needs for industries, like what the sports industry needs from a ticketing platform, or what the entertainment industry needs, or the relationship between artists, brands, promoter, platform. So a lot of that has been a lot of learning on the job and adapting, but I don't think that is something that I could have learned except I worked in those industries or worked for another company or done a lot of research. But sometimes you just dive right in and start building. But it's been interesting and a lot of learning. Lived it, loved it.
Sweet, thank you. I didn't know that you had been organizing events in college. Okay, OG.
Yeah, that's when I was in college. There was this thing called the University Programs Council, and the university. I went to the University of Virginia in
Oh, okay.
Charlottesville, and we used to get money from the university to like organize events to build community. And one of those events was a J. Cole concert. So it
Oh,
was like it was really fun.
oh, okay. No, that does sound like fun. Sweet. Well, thank you. I have a question for you later on, just about the things that you, because clearly you've seen a lot, the things that you think event organizers could do better to help themselves be more successful. But we'll get back to that. Okay. So we've lost Chibi for a hot sec, but when he comes back, apparently he's switching internet. Okay, give me a moment. Alrighty. Okay. Well, you know what? Actually, I'll just start with you, Folayemi, since we're here. So, you had talked about just seeing things, and for you personally, reflecting after an event. What was it that made me, or what made my experience great, or what made it not so great? What are some things that you feel like, in your experience, if event organizers could take note of these things, they could really level up, improve, enhance the experience of their events?
Okay, I'll use my event as an example. In 2017, we had our fourth Eat Drink Festival. For people that don't know, Eat Drink Festival is a food and drink festival in Lagos, Nigeria, that I have been organizing since 2015. And it was a chaotic experience for a number of reasons. One, we had a bank partner, and the POS machines and the ATM machines went down for about an hour, and people couldn't transact and pay at the event. People were hungry and they couldn't pay, so people were unhappy. Vendors who had like rented stalls at the events to sell their food were losing. They had like 8 or 12 hours to make to turn a profit, so they lost 1 hour. They were unhappy. And people who came to the event, I don't have any data about them because it was a free event and I didn't like collect registration, and people trying to get in, there was a long queue because we're trying to register some of them at the event. And it was not a great experience for many people for a certain duration of the event. So an event organizer can have an experience like that and just think like, oh, and then people complained a lot on Twitter, and I was like, all the people complain, don't worry, I'm gonna make it better for you. But sometimes people see that experience and they see it as, oh, those are just the haters, like it's not everything that was bad, so like it's fine, I'm just gonna like do the same thing next year and keep going. But for me, like it really got to me. I hated the fact that people were complaining. So I was like, you know what, we're gonna show you, this thing must get better. So I figured out like we figured out those like issues that I explained, like the payment issue, the access issue, the data registration issue, and then we kind of built Tix as an internal solution for what we needed at that time. And we also saw that other people were having similar problems, and then we obviously snowballed it into like things something else that people could use externally. But that long story is to say that people really need to like postmortem their events and like see what the issues that people complained about, and then use that to improve.
Take the feedback and make things better. Awesome. Yeah, and I love how like you actually practiced that, and Tix was born from this. Okay. I'm curious, real quick before we move on, what are some of the features of Tix that you feel like are strongest in response to the issues that you faced?
So paid online ticketing. So at the time, I wanted to organize a supper club for just 12 people, and I wanted to collect payments from them before the event because I didn't want people to register and not show up like Nigerians do sometimes. And I needed a payment platform to do so. This was pre-Paystack payment pages, and Eventbrite didn't work for me at the time and still doesn't because Eventbrite doesn't support payments from in African currencies and African countries. So I'm not a developer, so building my own site was not an option. What did I do? I created a Shopify account and built a Shopify store just to sell my online tickets because that user experience was important for me. I didn't want people to be transferring to a bank account and me to be confirming it manually. And the existing ticketing solutions in the market for me in Nigeria at the time did not solve my problem. Somebody wanted me to come to their office to sign up for their platform. Absolutely not. These things should be DIY. I mean, there's no reason why I need to like fill a form, get approved to sell events tickets online that are like 15,000 naira pop times 10. That's not going to solve the problem. So that simple thing, that's it.
Solid. Thank you for that.
So to recap, I mean that Tix is solving that payment problem for event people.
Yeah, online ticketing is definitely very important. All right, sweet. Thank you for that. Chibi, it's great to have you back. There are two things that I want to ask you. One is about your experience over the past 5 years, and if there's any one thing that you've learned that you feel like was a game changer for you, what was that thing? So we'll just start there.
All right. So the first thing is self-belief. So I struggled with planning my events and believing that they will pan out the way I want them to. So for instance, I had my 1-year anniversary at Hard Rock last week Friday, and it was a success, right? Then the next day I had a friend message me saying, Chibi, I'm proud of you, this and that. You've come a long way from South. And do you remember back then when you started working with Hard Rock, how you would always say, are the people going to come? Is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? I was always worried and I was always on my toes. And that's what helped me back a lot, is the fact that I didn't believe in myself the way I should have, or the way people trusted in me and believed in my events. And if I simply just, believed in myself a little bit more, I wouldn't have been held back in planning certain things or going all out for my events and making a better experience for them.
Sweet. Thank you. So believing in yourself as key, determining even how far you push yourself to hold an excellent event. Okay. I'm curious. So you had mentioned, stuff like being able to make people relax and be comfortable at your events. Like I said, whenever I see any of your videos pop up, people are like having a great time. So I'm curious, what are some of your best practices that help you achieve this relaxed comfort, high energy, turn upness that people experience?
So firstly, I'm warm to every single person that attends my events. Even if I don't know you, I'm walking up to you, I'm giving you a hug. I see you walking out the door, I run to you and I'm asking, is there any problem? Why are you leaving? Some people say nothing. Some people say there was this issue, and I attend to them. Someone's car is blocked. I am doing the run around instead of looking for security to assist. I'm like, oh, who has this car? Who has this car? I'm always ensuring that everyone's needs is well taken care of. And as the host and as an organizer, I'm supposed to just be chilling on my table, drinking with my friends, but that's not what happens. I'm walking around looking at my friends. I'm looking at people seated at tables, there's no drink there, or I see that they've been holding the menu for about 20, 30 minutes. And I walk over to them. I'm like, okay, sorry, what's happening? Did the waiter return? No, just give me a second. I run to the bar. I get the staff, please attend to this person. So those are the little things I do. I try to make sure that everyone, regardless of the amount of money in your pockets, everyone is an equal at the event. So even if you're spending 2,000 or you're spending 1 million naira, everyone's the same. Your value, your contribution to the event at the time is equal. Okay. And And as for the high energy, I've noticed that a lot of people in Lagos, in Nigeria, want to party freely. Everyone wants to unleash. Everyone is worried about doing too much and seeming crazy, or like Tolani Bad said, if she sees a guy dancing at the club, he's giving her the ick. And everyone is seeing things like this, hearing stuff like that, and everyone's just trying to. But my parties, I give people free shots. I want you to unwind. I want you to get a bit free, dance, be yourself. This is the place where you're supposed to be yourself. You spend the entire week in the office or at home, and you've probably been in a cage. You're out to party, you're out to unwind. This is the place for you to actually be yourself. So I give people the chance to by giving them obviously alcohol and being a fool myself, so that people see that if I can display myself at my own events like that, they should feel comfortable to do the same as well.
Solid. I love that. Okay, so personal touch, troubleshooting, paying intentional attention to what's going on. Because, yeah, I mean, we're talking a lot about the technology behind setting these things up, but, it's a solid reminder that the in-person interactions can still play a key part. Yeah, thank you, Chibi. Okay. All right, cool. So now I'm curious about, excuse me, I'm curious about Ake Festival. So hey, Lola, you typically host this outside of Lagos, super social city. But then I think you've done, was it Ibadan or Abeokuta at some point? What are the secrets to getting people to travel for your events? Because hella traffic, the roads aren't great. How do you get people to be invested in showing up? Like, what is the marketing like to entice in that way?
Yeah, thanks for that. So when you live in Lagos, it doesn't take too much convincing to get people out of Lagos, especially to a place like Abeokuta, which is where we held the first 5 editions of the festival. And that's because, Abeokuta is a sort of a town that wants to be a city, but it's also not as densely populated. In some parts of it, it's like it's stuck in the 1950s because of the architecture and just how people are so calm and go about their business. So you don't find a lot of that Lagos madness there. And I think the one of the loveliest things about Ake Festival, especially in those first 5 years being in Abeokuta, is that it was a place where people believed that they could escape to. It was a place where they could be far from the, madding crowd, and it was something that they hankered for. So I was really encouraged by that. I wanted to, do everything I can to make them feel safe and to make them feel welcome. In terms of how we marketed it to people, we did lots of things like this thing called the Ake Quest, where we would get some of our guests, we would give them a challenge, either climb Olumo Rock, go and dobale for the Alake of Egbaland, or go to Kuto Market to go and buy fabric. We would always give, especially the ones from America, sorry, Jaime, who had never been to Nigeria before. We used to set them those tasks and kind of talk to them, on their way there and record the conversations. So people could see what it was like there and they felt safe. And of course, the writing community or the reading community then was nowhere near as large and extensive as it is today. So I think people also bought into being part of that community, and that was the place to go if you wanted to meet the famous writers that you've been reading and listen to really, really solid, very sort of daring conversations about issues that are not normally discussed publicly.
Sweet. Okay, thank you, Lola. Yeah, so I love that I love that. For one, there's definitely a solid understanding of the audience and their need to escape the hustle and bustle of Lagos. I also love the challenges aspect, whether it's like leading up to the event in a way that makes people just like anticipate. That's really brilliant bit of engagement. Okay, so bringing it back to technology for a little bit. One thing I've been curious about, and Jamie, this is for you. We're talking, of course, about events. What are some of the most creative ways that you have seen technology being used to power events?
I think from our end, I think different kinds of like integrations. We have our plugins that kind of live on their own, but I think the ability to create integrations with other plugins, other WordPress themes, different types of page builders, any way that you can that we can create integrations with other things just makes everything, I think, work so much better and really invites more people in. Because if you're someone who loves like Elementor and then you want to use it with the events calendar on WordPress, we have an integration for that. Then you can use that together, and that brings in more people. We or Paystack recently created an integration for event tickets, which is one of our plugins, and it's a free plugin, event tickets, and it comes with its own e-commerce solution. So you don't need WooCommerce on it. You don't need anything else. And then you can just install a free Paystack integration, and now you can accept payments on your WordPress site. And so, yeah, I think that integrations are really exciting for me.
Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, so I guess to bring it all together, I think what I love that I'm hearing is there are so many ways that as a group of people, we are thinking about, what is the physical experience that people have when they are at an event? And then for Folayemi and Jamie, what is the online experience? What is the ease? What is the convenience that we are bringing to people who are signing up for events? And that way, it's a whole end-to-end intentional design of like making things delightful for people. So I love that. To the folks who are sending in questions, thank you very much.
Mohini, I have something I want to add to that, just real
let's
quick.
go.
I think that many times event organizers think about the experience of the event starting when people get to the door. But like you just said, I actually really think it starts online, because if you have a frustrating payment experience online, you're going to be annoyed. You're like, maybe I don't want to go to this event anymore. But when it goes well, you have your ticket, you're excited. When you get to the event, you're like, your ease of access also impacts things. If you're standing in a queue, you're getting irritable. That has a negative experience. So I just really think I want more event organizers to see that whole experience, because they're trying to convince them, why should you use Tix? Why shouldn't you not? Because it's a better experience, really.
Thank you for landing that point. Lola, I saw you nodding with serious affirmation. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, we've been, in terms of people actually paying to attend the event, I mean, we've been using Paystack probably since the very early days. Folayemi is absolutely right that the experience that you have online while paying for an event can have an impact on the general impression that you have about the organization of the actual event. So if you can get that right, it really does make a difference. And that's one thing that I really harp on with my team. It's so important. I just want things to be easy for everyone, because that's what I appreciate when I attend other people's events. So she's absolutely right. I buy it.
So long talking about this ease and simple. Like, it's like the principle we take into designing a page on Tix. Is it simple? Does it make sense?
Yeah. I love how we're approaching this with empathy. Yeah. And I'm sure the users appreciate that too. Okay, so real quick, I think we can begin diving into questions from the audience. So thank y'all for sending your questions. If you have more questions, please feel free to pop them in there using the questions tab at the bottom right. We will start with, okay, so Danjuma Balogun asked, where do I send a proposal to if I need Paystack as a sponsor for an event? We have a special form just for that. That is paystack.com/sponsorships. And recapping, this has been answered. Currently planning to do an event tagged Ibadan Tech Expo. Been contemplating selling tickets through ticket platforms or generally just collecting via Paystack streets. And hi, Danjuma, the decision will depend on your specific needs and workflow. Selling tickets through ticket platforms may provide more visibility and reach. Collecting with Paystack directly may offer more control and flexibility over the payment process. Of course, Tix, if you have your own WordPress site, you are, definitely check out the events calendar, right? You can integrate Paystack on there as well. They offer a suite of tools for marketing, promoting, managing tickets for attendees. So that might be worth exploring. You also have the beautiful option of Tix. Limey has talked plenty about all the ways in which they make ticketing.
I can even talk more.
He's ready to go. Make ticketing super simple. But again, you have Paystack on the back at both ends. I honestly would encourage you to explore both. We will, please let's all drop links in the chat so that folks can go digging and see what works for their needs. Thank you very much. Now, Tenny, what's up, Tenny? So Tenny says, I currently work for a low-code collaboration platform. I'm gonna start this. And I'm curious to hear how you manage the technical, practical side of things, reorganization and collaboration. Does anyone feel like they have enough context to take a stab at answering that? Or you would like Tenny to add some more? Jaime, Follypops. How do you manage collaboration?
I can speak of this as like a people manager or a people leader. How I manage the technical, practical sides of things, reorganization and collaboration. We use like a lot of, I think, speaking of like internal tools to like help manage. That's the sense I'm getting from the question. So we can use things like Notion or Google Docs, Google Sheets to collaborate on stuff like Airtable or Typeform to send out surveys or collect data in a structured format from users. I imagine that's the kind of thing you want to learn about, Tenny. I don't know if you can add more context and maybe I can say how we use these tools.
Yes, please.
We also have a relatively new product that is called Event Automator, and it kind of helps connect the dots. By right now, we connect with Zapier, and then we're gonna add some more integrations. But basically, you can take things from your WordPress site, like say every time you add an event to your calendar on your WordPress site, it also adds the event to an Excel spreadsheet. So you can create like what they're called like zaps. So you would with Zapier, so you would create a zap, and so that every time you add it to your WordPress site, you add it to an Excel spreadsheet. Or you can do something where every time you add an event, it posts to social. And you can like create different kinds of recipes and I guess like help organize your events in different places.
That sounds pretty cool. Thanks, Jaime.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a question from someone who sent in a question as part of the registration process. I think this one, well, this one might go to Lola and Chibi. So what are the steps to take from a new event that's not making money to one where brands get involved and you star? So I'm guessing like approach to partnerships and scaling an event and making it pop. Any advice?
So I can say something. So the truth is, you'd have to start organically. When we had to restart South in 2021, it was basically empty. There was barely anyone there. We were like 50 people at the time, but it was fine, no problem. I had done this 2 years before, and so I kept on, doing what I could do, getting people to come in and have an amazing time. Over time, the word on the street was, oh, South is back up. Something is happening there. It seems to be a vibe. I'll tell more people to tell more people to tell more people. And during that time, I was, I was super extra. And I think that's one of the things that also helped, the crowd build up, where I was attending to everyone's needs, giving out free drinks to people and showing that the reason why people came there, they achieved the reason they came there for. So you have to grow your crowd organically. It's not about just sponsoring the post or, just telling people to repost for you. You have to let the party grow organically, let people enjoy the party. And once that happens, the money starts to flow in. Because if you sponsor, let's say you sponsor a post for your party today, it's a new party, you haven't had that much crowd, and you sponsor it today, and you have 20,000 people show up today. And what if they miss the flyer the next time? What happens? They are not organic flowers of your event. So with that, once you have organic flowers, the money begins to flow in. And once the money flows in, the experience becomes better. And once the experience becomes better, you easily have brands approaching you. You won't even need to approach them anymore. They would be the ones rushing you and offering you money to partner with you for your events.
Thank you, Chibi. Yes.
I was just going to say that I absolutely agree with everything that Chidi has said. I also will say one thing, that consistency is also critical. A lot of sponsors or potential funders or donors, I think, look at that. So they want to see what you're doing with what you have. I think it's also important to be an eternal, opportunist. I always say this when it comes to kind of fundraising or exploring partnerships. You've got to be opportunistic. You've got to be thinking ahead of even your sponsors. And I think one of the best ways to do that is by creating a product that's irresistible, one. And two, it's by helping the organizations you want to approach to figure out what the benefits of partnering with you are or could be. They're not always immediately apparent. It's not just always about, okay, let's put a big banner, in the space. Sometimes it's not about that. There are other ways that I think are really innovative and take a lot of thought. And that's certainly something that you need to spend your time on along with your team. So when you do go and present to a potential partner, you already know what they're going to buy. And of course, that comes from researching that organization, but also just thinking ahead.
Lovely. Thanks for that ad, Lola. Yeah, so to recap, consistency for sure. Consistency also in making it a great experience, because of course that inspires people to share, word of mouth, encourage other people to come. And I guess also expecting that these things will take time, right? And also keeping in mind, like, you can't go to a sponsor thinking, oh, this is what I want, this is what I need. But no, like, what are the incentives for them? Like, what do they stand to gain? And just being really intentional about communicating that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, real quick check. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Okay, so hold on a moment. Okay, Chibi, I'm curious. What are some things that you would like to see improve in the event industry in the next few years?
I think it's more of proper support from the government, creating a safe space for every single one of us. Because, Dirty December in Lagos is a thing, and people traveling from everywhere to come turn up. Now, imagine that there was less traffic or proper organization in December. People could go bar hopping every, like 4 or 5 hours. There were no area boys on the street, policemen are harassing you. Just imagine the government literally had our backs. Even the money they could make from us during that period would benefit them as well. So we need proper support from the government to enable us to do the best we can and actually have a proper industry, the entertainment industry. So I think with the government support, we could do a whole lot more.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I heard you talking about the roads and like the traffic at Dirty December. I was like, that is so right. That's the reason I stay in my house. Cool. Okay. Lola, for you, you've had multiple high caliber personalities speak at Ake Festival. Can you give us some tips on or some best practices on how to manage those sorts of interactions, from outreach to, just setting up things on the day and making sure it all goes smoothly?
Yeah, thanks. So I think I have a bit of a cheat code, and that's the fact that I'm a writer myself. And I am also a writer that has attended several festivals. And one of the things I do when I do go to other people's literary events is that I take very, very, very interesting notes, actually. I like best practice. I steal and adopt best practice where I can, but I'm also very critical of those events. I mean, this is all going on in my mind. I'm looking at the ways that I have been treated, that when I wish they could have done something differently. So in employing all that best practice, my head and with my team, I have basically taught them and trained them on how to do everything that makes our guests feel as welcome as possible. And when they're high profile, obviously there are different things that you have to negotiate beforehand. So you make sure you do this in a respectful manner, in a way that you keep on sending them teasers so they actually feel like they're part of something. And when they're actually physically there, you make sure you're attentive. You make sure if it's wine they want, if they just do this, somebody has put it in their hand. If they want to go and sleep, there's a vehicle that can take them to the hotel. And I say this because sometimes in our case, with Ake Festival, that high profile guest could be a Nobel laureate or an elderly author. So already as an organizer, you're thinking about how to make sure you've covered all your bases, but you're also in many ways kind of treating them like you would treat the elderly people around you.
Kid gloves and lots of tender loving care. Sweet. Thank you for that. Makes a lot of sense. I love how we are all just, attending events and taking notes and just being really intentional about what to do, what not to do. That's a way of life. That's cool. Okay. Jaime, yeah, I wanted to ask, are you able to share a little bit of a teaser on, what are some things we can look forward to receiving launch-wise from the events calendar in the coming months? Got any plans?
Of course we do. So we are working on adding more integrations for Event Automator, which is the product I just talked about. So right now it's just Zapier, and we're going to add some other ways to create integrations for people who aren't either super comfortable with Zapier or use other platforms as well. And we are also working a lot on event tickets and extending the features of event tickets to include stuff that's more mobile and more portable. A lot of people are using when they go to an event, they don't want to how to do the ticket. They want to bring their phone, show it an Apple Wallet, and so we're working on that kind of thing.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. Sweet. Okay, so to everyone who's listening, just a reminder, like if you have a WordPress website and you want like the utmost flexibility in managing events on there. So Jamie has just talked about Automator, about the possibility in the future of being able to have your ticket show up in your Apple Wallet. Clearly, they're cooking up things. So if you want a crap ton of flexibility in managing your events on your WordPress website, check out the events calendar. You can also accept payments with Paystack on there. We just launched a new integration with them, so we're very excited about that. All right. For Folly Pops, Folayemi up next. What should we look out for from Tix in the coming months? Is there anything you'd like to share with us?
So in the coming months, Tix, we will be adding more currencies that people can collect their payments with. So that would mean like more cities. We are going to be, so this is something I'm really excited about. So many times when creators use Tix, they don't know how many people have viewed their event page or how many people have started a transaction and haven't completed it. So analytics would help them see how many eyeballs are on their page, so they know if they're having a visibility problem and that's why their tickets aren't selling, or if they're having a conversion problem and people are adding it to their cards and not completing the purchase. So be able to have them see analytics and possibly trigger abandoned cart emails to improve conversion of people who start the transaction and don't finish. Plus more updates to our mobile application.
Solid. Loving the analytics and all the information to help people sell tickets better. Way to go. Looking forward. Hi, Lola. What's popping on your end in the next few months? Oh, wait. Can we hear Lola? Is it just me? Lola, you might be muted. Are you muted?
Yes, I apologize. So there's always stuff happening at WIDA. We do our really fun monthly open mic sessions, which are growing all the time. We feel that we're going to have to, get another venue soon. And of course, there are festivals that are going to be happening later on in the year. Kaduna is on, and there's going to be a festival in Lagos as well, and we're working on it, but we haven't announced anything yet. But definitely monthly, there's the open mic. We're going to start something for over 40s soon. So yeah, there's always something going on at WIDA House.
Oh, keeping it spicy. Okay, okay. I'm looking forward to your Lagos festival. Awesome. Hi, Chibi. What manner of litness can we expect in the coming months from you and your team?
Seeing the crowd has gotten larger, going to be working on the experiences most definitely more, making it seem a bit different from the regular events that people have been attending, my regular events. But also I'm working on something for December, something for the South Social Faithfuls. I have something in works, and once I sort out everything, I'll make the announcement. But yeah, it's going to be a good year for every single one of us.
Beautiful. I trust. Speaking of good peoples, please share links where we can stay on top of events that you have coming up. Where is the best place for us to follow so that when y'all are dropping things, we are catching? Please drop any links you have in the chat for us and everyone listening. And yeah, on that note, thank you all so much for making the time to come and chat and share your learnings and your experience with us. I personally learned a fair bit about events. And yeah, I hope that I trust that our audience did as well. So yeah, we will probably send this replay onto YouTube after the fact, and it will go out to people who have registered as well. Yeah, so any last words from any of you, any shout outs you want to give mommy and daddy? Now would be the time before we close this up.
I'll definitely shout out myself. I'll shout out Tix. Super easy to use no code tool. So you can list your events in under 10 minutes and not go through the struggle I did to hack a Shopify to make things work manually. You don't have to drive to anybody's office to list your event. The power is all in your hands. You can create discount codes, customize the look and feel of your event site, collect additional information. You have our mobile app for check-in. There's so many things you can do with Tix.
Oh.
Yeah. And our website is Tix.Africa, and we're Tix.Africa on all social media platforms. Self-promotion.
That's what's up. Yeah, and Lola, someone has said when Wida is coming to Ori, they're down to help you. So Sunday in the chat. All right, so before you head out, just a reminder that we've been very excited to partner with the beautiful folks at the events calendar to launch a very spiffy integration that allows you to accept payments and take even more advantage of the wide variety of tools that they have available for managing your events. So Jaime has been kind enough to share links in the chat, so please check those out as well. Good luck with the events that you will be organizing in future. A ton of resources out there for you to be successful, so rock on. Everyone, thank you so much, and have a lovely rest of the day.